Inspired by your words about actions, which has been one of my biggest challenges as president of Holy Blossom Temple during COVID-19. And I loved your bow tie. At the board installation on November 30th, 2019, I spoke to the congregation about Parshat Toldot, where we hear about the conflict between Esau and Jacob from the time they were in the womb together, and that Rebekah, mindful of the prophecy she had received when she was pregnant and told that she was carrying twins and that the older would serve the younger, favored the younger son, Jacob. Years later, she persuaded Jacob to impersonate his brother Esau and thereby take for himself the blessing that his father Isaac had intended for Esau. Today, we heard Jane Herman beautifully chant Vayishlach, where it is now 20 years later, and Jacob is preparing for his fateful reunion with Esau. After sending his family and possessions across the stream, he was left alone and wrestled through the night until the break of dawn with an unnamed man whom he manages to defeat. Jacob is told by the man, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Yisrael, for you have striven with beings divine and human and have prevailed." This is the first mention of the name Israel in the Torah. It is not a tweak of an existing name by the change or addition of a letter, as when God changed Abram or Avram's name to Abraham or Avraham, or Sarah's name to Sarah's name to Sarah. It is an entirely new name, as if to signal that what it represents is a complete change of character. The name Israel, or Yisrael in Hebrew, was not just Jacob's new name, but became the name for the Jewish people, the children of Israel, a name applied to kingdoms and dynasties in the Holy Land, and today, the name of the modern state of Israel. Why is this name so significant? Rashi explains it this way. He suggests that while in Parshat Toldot, Jacob and Rebekah had good reason for wanting Jacob to receive that blessing, Jacob still had to disguise himself and pretend to be Esau. But when Jacob is given the name Yisrael, Rashi says that this indicates, "It shall no longer be said that the blessings came to you through supplanting and subtlety, but through noble conduct and in an open manner." We see in Parsha Vayishlach that Jacob undergoes a change of personality. He gives back to Esau the blessing that he took from him. On the previous day, he had given Esau back the material blessing by sending him hundreds of goats and ewes and rams and cows, bulls, and donkeys. When they reunite the next day, Jacob gives back to Esau the blessing we heard Isaac give him earlier in Parshat Toldot, where Isaac said, "Be Lord over your brothers, and may the sons of your mother bow down to you." In Parsha Vayishlach, Jacob bows down 7 times to Esau. He calls Esau my Lord and himself your servant. The result is that the 2 brothers meet and part in peace. This is the critical moment of Jacob's life. From now on, he is content to be himself. Jacob emerges from his struggle a new person with a new name, his true name, the name he earns for himself, not the name given to him by someone else. And as we see in Parsha Vayishlach, Jacob has prevailed. When I consider Jacob's growth from the young man who stole his brother's identity and runs away from his troubles, to the man who wrestled with himself and is prepared to face his brother for wrongdoing, I think of all the changes we have experienced at Holy Blossom Temple, as well as my own growth and transformation since we read Parshat Toldot last year. This was a year in Holy Blossom's 165 years like no other. There were times in the past 8 to 9 months where, like Jacob, our character was tested, our wisdom, our empathy, our compassion, our selflessness. This pandemic has tested our optimism, our faith in our fellow humans, in our government, in our institutions, in our community, and for some, even their faith in God. One of Holy Blossom's greatest transformations in 2020 was staying current, responding thoughtfully but quickly, and most importantly, adapting, and yes, I can't help but say it, pivoting almost constantly. We knew we could not continue to do business as usual, and we broke out of our mold. The future of Holy Blossom Temple as we slowly come out of this pandemic and are able to safely open our beautiful building at 1950 Bathurst Street, which even the president and the new board of directors cannot be in today, will be challenging. Well, one of the silver linings arising from COVID-19 is that we have invested in wonderful live stream and audio equipment, and that we will have a hybrid model for everything that we do in the future. The challenge will be engaging and connecting between those that are in person and those like all of us today who are on the screen, so as to ensure that that which we continue to do remains meaningful and vibrant. I am fortunate that as an alumni of the Wexner Heritage Foundation, which is an intense 2-year Jewish leadership program that I was accepted into after being nominated by Holy Blossom in 1998, I was asked to participate this year in their Leadership Skills Summit, which was supposed to take place at the Kennedy School of Public Policy at Harvard University at the end of March, and which is now being offered in virtual sessions on a variety of topics, including crisis management and communications for leaders coping with COVID-19. So much for getting to say I went to Harvard University. What I have learned is that in a crisis such as COVID-19, we don't fully understand the circumstances because they keep evolving and changing. There are no clear precedents from prior experiences. The issues that are raised are not immediately obvious, clear, or well-defined. The questions that need to be grappled with are emerging day to day because they cannot be accurately anticipated. The decisions that need to be made arise in real time as the questions are formulated, and they change and evolve with the situation and our grasp of it. In crisis leadership, nearly everything about the crisis is unfamiliar. We are now in December with Hanukkah around the corner, and I'm beginning to feel that the unfamiliar is now very familiar. And I can partially see through the forest, although in some ways, closing the building and the decisions we made in March now appear easier than the decisions we will have to make to reopen. As you heard Rabbi Splansky just say when she blessed the board, that future will be the challenge for this new board. It has been said that the 8 days of Hanukkah refer to the in-between days, the days between the destruction of the ancient temple and the return to normalcy. In these past 8 to 9 months, we have been living in this in-between period, nurturing our flame, as was done during the 8 days of Hanukkah. You have continued to lean into Holy Blossom since March. And as we enter the dark and cold months of winter, we need the brightness of Hanukkah next week to remind us that Holy Blossom Temple is our Kehillah Kedoshah, our sacred community. I am not the same leader who stood before you at the board installation last year. I'm smiling because those of you who know me well would agree with that statement. I have so risen to the challenge. I have learned to engage in real-time problem solving. I have learned to be a partner in a team of leaders, listening and learning from my partners and balancing competing viewpoints. I too have pivoted to chair board meetings and many committees and COVID cabinet meetings on a virtual platform. I have tried to manage congregants' expectations and even their losses with the realities of our challenges. I am constantly reading and learning so as to better understand key issues facing nonprofit organizations and houses of worship at this historic time, and to address the real financial challenges we have faced leading into COVID-19 and as a result of it. I believe I am a better listener, and in listening more to others, I have been able to steer and support staff and lay leaders to excel at this difficult time. But if you asked me if I wanted a do-over, in a heartbeat, I would tell you that I am a better strategist, problem solver, lawyer, mediator, and lay leader as a result of my experience this past year. I too have wrestled like Jacob, but instead of it being with an unnamed man or angel, as some rabbis tell us, it was with this tiny virus that brought the world to its knees. I am optimistic today with possible vaccine options on the horizon that I can see past this virus and into our future. Finally, if I thought I had excellent time management skills as a family law lawyer, I certainly went into overdrive these past 9 months, and most of the time, not all the time, I was able to successfully undertake 2 full-time jobs quite efficiently, although my days were very long. And perhaps that is the answer at the end of the day. For me, my transformation, like Jacob's, is that I was destined to be Holy Blossom's temple president during a never-before experienced crisis, the COVID-19 pandemic. And so the more I think about Parsha Vaishlach and the name of Israel, I believe it is about striving towards goals and working to succeed, as Rashi said, in a noble way, even if that means overcoming extremely difficult challenges. And we have succeeded in that together so far. I am blessed to not only have a very strong board by my side who are installed with me virtually today, but as well a team of superb vice presidents who have been with me this past year, not letting me falter, asking me how they could help me and Holy Blossom, and who gave so much of themselves to make the leadership at Holy Blossom Temple even stronger than ever. Last year at this time, I know I promised all of you dark chocolate at all of our board meetings. I did not expect that we would only have 3 in-person meetings before we moved on to Zoom. Well, I think I stress ate all of your chocolate. It is my deepest desire that we will be in person again during this last year of my presidency. I miss kibitzing and all of our face-to-face connections, and I can't tell you how much I am looking forward to working with all of you this next year. Of course, there are some I have to thank. I'd like to start with the support of our past presidents, Judy Winberg and Joan Garson, who have been great sounding boards and such support to me, in addition to all the good work that they are doing at Holy Blossom. I'd like to thank my sacred partners, Rabbi Slansky and Ron Polster, who continue to inspire me each day in all the work that they do for this community. My law partner, Susan Sack, my father, my husband, Mark, our children, Sarah, Alex, and Hannah. I would not be in this honored position today without all of you. To the newly installed board of directors, to the staff and clergy of Holy Blossom Temple, to Eli and your family, and of course, to all the congregants and our virtual guests. May we all be like Jacob, hold true to ourselves, our values, our core beliefs, and in this dark time in our lives, as we continue to navigate through this pandemic, may we help others to shine out in the world around us. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Yashar Koches, Avra, and thank you to you and all of the temple leadership. Modim anachnu lach. We are grateful to all of you for your leadership and guidance.